Thanks for tuning in to Bourbon Drop. I'm your host, Myron. Today, we've got a sample Sunday for you guys. Very special sample Sunday. I don't know if you guys remember the 4-state hunt haul video that I did, but I stopped through a store called Premier Spirits. And the reason why I stopped at that store is because I had been there a few years before and they had a whole bunch of stuff. I wanted to walk out with the whole store. It was no different this time around, but the owner, Jeremiah, I got to give you a shout out. He had some picks there. That's where I wound up getting an Old Soul pick. That was my second Old Soul that I had ever gotten. But there was another guy who I was talking to in the store. His name was Davin. Davin reached out to me through Patreon. So he somehow found my Patreon because I had asked him to comment on, I think it was the Green River video, like the latest Green River video that I had put out just before, traveling down to Florida for the storm restoration. So we were talking bourbon. He was just pointing out stuff on the shelves. And then he says, have you ever heard of a distillery called Striped Pig? I said, no. So I guess he kind of like, just gestures over to Jeremiah. Jeremiah was nice enough to actually just share half of his 1 ounce sample with me. Now, Striped Pig, they're a smaller distillery out of Charleston, South Carolina. They do distill spirits. They don't distill bourbon at the moment. So even when you go on their website, it says Kentucky Bourbon and it says we made the 700-mile trip and blah, blah, blah. So they don't tell you where they source it from in Kentucky. You just know it comes from Kentucky. Now, this is a 7-year-old Striped Pig cask strength. It comes in at 120.2 proof. And Jeremiah, he was, like I said, he was nice enough to share his 1 ounce sample that Davin had gave to him. So let me see. Davin says that this is called Striped Pig Jackson's Private Collection. And like I said, 7 years old, 120.2 proof. They do not disclose where they get it from in Kentucky. I just know that it comes from Kentucky. Now, it smelled... I'm not saying that I can pick everything up or every distillery out because, different barrels can smell differently. But when I smelled it in the store, I was thinking Heaven Hill. That happens to be one of my favorite distilleries. Maybe that's why I was thinking Heaven Hill. But to me, it was coming off like Heaven Hill. I have not nosed this since. It's been in this little half tube for over a month now. We'll have to go back and look at that 4-state hunt haul video to see what I shot that thing. All right, let's get into the nose of Striped Pig cask strength. Oh, that's a very fruit-forward nose. There's a little bit of a waxy note too. Like a waxy clay, very fruity. I'm not getting like that astringent oak that you get like out of a super old product. Now it is 7 years old, but I'm not picking that up at all. And I've never even tasted this thing, so this is my first time tasting it on camera. Let's get into the palate. Wow. That tastes like Four Roses. That's got that very prominent cherry note, a very creamy cherry, almost like a cherry dipped in cream. Oh, like a cherry dipped in whipped cream. It's a little drying on the mid to the back of the palate, like I pick up with that some of these Four Roses single barrels. Oh, that's good. Now I only had a half because this was a 1 ounce sample, so I only had a half of an ounce to go off of. But man, so far I am really liking this thing. Let's go back into the nose one more time. Still fruit forward. It's not like it's cherry heavy on the nose. It's more cherry on the palate than anything. All right, back on the palate. Oh my gosh. That's candy. That is candy. That is cherries, just like cherry candy, maraschino cherry dipped in whipped cream. It's got that drying note, like I said, on Four Roses. You start to pick up that oakiness. This is really good. All right, so you know how it is when it comes to the Sunday samples. There wasn't a price. He didn't say what the price was, so I can't get into that. I did go on their website. They do ship to certain states, not them themselves, but they do have a third-party shipper. And my state is the state that they ship to. However, what they have on their website is only the 90 proof version. This right here, this is something special. I am really liking this. I don't know what the price of it is, so like I said, I can't comment on that. So is it worth picking up if you see it? A striped pig, I think it said Kevin's private batch or something like that. Yeah, it's worth picking up if you see it. 122 proof, 120.2 proof. Did not drink like 120 proof at all. I just did a review of the 5-year Pinhook. That drank every bit of 120 proof. This does not drink 120 proof. That is very good. So I would have to say that I would definitely recommend this to an intermediate to experienced bourbon drinker. All right, will it always be on the bar? You know that this is a sample that was given to me. However, if I was able to find these, they would always be on the bar. Always be on the bar. I like them that much. Price dependent. So if I could find these and they were a reasonable price, they would always be on the bar. With that being said, let the whiskey flow. Never run out unless you head it to a drop. Until next time.